prices are skyrocketing.
You now need a six-figure salary to buy the average home.
Rent prices is outrageous.
They're earning less money, they have more debt.
Groceries are, almost unaffordable.
A PBS poll done this month found that 95% of American voters say they will be considering the economy when placing their 2024 presidential vote. That's huge. A majority, 59%, say it is a deciding factor in their vote. It's no surprise that Americans are hurting.
Our groceries have gone from, maybe $100 a week to double that, if not more.
I have never seen anything like this.
I really waited my whole life to grow up and do this.
And the candidates know it too. Both have spoken repeatedly about their desire to bring down prices.
We also need to lower the cost of living. Prices for everyday necessities like groceries are still too high.
Now you have record-setting inflation. Just hang in there. We're going to bring those costs way down.
Prices have risen since Joe and Kamala took office. Data from the Consumer Price Index shows that food prices have increased 20% over the last 4 years. Items like eggs, flour, sugar, and butter have all increased between 30 to 40%. Energy prices have increased 30% over that same period too, and inflation has increased from 1.23% in 2020 to a 9% peak in 2022. The Trump campaign says Bidenomics is to blame for the pain you're feeling every time you pull out your wallet, but Team Kamala says this is the lingering result of leftover policies from Trump, his handling of the COVID pandemic, and other factors outside of the White House's control. But what's the truth? Is one political party to blame, or is our economy simply suffering from global, uncontrollable factors? And even if someone is to blame, what are the solutions from each candidate to turn this all around? This is Election Facts for the Undecided Voter. Part 3, the economy. Let's take it down to some economic basics. First, inflation and prices. The increase in all of these prices, food, housing, energy, and anything else are all related. For example, food prices increase when the cost of growing or producing that food, like thanks to high fuel or fertilizer prices to operate factory machinery, is high. So then what causes these across-the-board increases in price? Inflation. And what causes inflation? Inflation happens when there's just too much money relative to the size of the economy, and therefore the value of a dollar decreases, meaning $5 won't buy you as much as it did a few years ago. Famous economist Milton Friedman explained it like this in 1978.
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else.
The left partly blames Trump's handling of the COVID pandemic for why our economy is suffering so much today. The Trump administration did spend a lot of money to battle COVID, nearly $4 trillion worth. He left office with the debt being about $6.5 trillion higher than it was when he started. In Biden's first 3.5 years in office, the debt increased nearly $8 trillion higher than that, possibly $9 by the time he leaves. So Biden and Harris are spending more, but really both sides of this election spent significant amounts of money while in office. Kamala also blames tax cuts enacted by Trump for rising inflation, arguing that they were designed to benefit the wealthy, corporate owners rather than the average American.
Sadly, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit.
Trump's tax cuts actually focus on both. They lowered income brackets and tax rates for individual Americans, but also lowered the corporate tax rate to a flat 21%. IRS data from 2017 shows that Americans in the lowest income brackets saw a more significant reduction in their taxes than those in higher income brackets. CNN recently fact-checked Kamala's claim.
Americans of all income levels got tax cuts from this 2017 law. The Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center found in early 2018 that the law, quote, will reduce individual income taxes on average for all income groups and in all states.
A report from the House Committee on Ways and Means found that in the 2 years after those cuts, the median income per American family actually increased $5,000 per year, and average wages rose by 5% as well. Overall, prices also fell. Why? because of basic supply and demand. If corporations have more money to boost supply of their item, then it's available to more consumers, and those companies can therefore afford to drop the price of that item since more customers will be buying it. So what does the other side say? Well, Republicans claim that Biden and Kamala continued spending trillions of dollars on COVID relief efforts when it wasn't needed, like additional stimulus checks for Americans, and that the additional printing of so much money caused huge economic issues that wouldn't have occurred if they'd let Trump's COVID spending expire like planned. Next to jobs. Kamala says Trump is responsible for huge job losses, even before the pandemic.
America lost almost 200,000 manufacturing jobs when he was president. Facts. And those losses started before the pandemic.
But a CNN fact-check found her claim to be wrong, with Trump actually presiding over a gain of over 400,000 manufacturing jobs. The Kamala campaign also says she and Biden are responsible for 16 million jobs created, and say that Trump
left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Both of these are accurate statements, but they don't take into account the COVID context, since the jobs lost under Trump were thanks to the pandemic, and most of the jobs gained under Biden were those lost jobs beginning to recover. Lastly, energy. Since Biden and Kamala took office, home electricity prices have increased about 20%, and energy prices have increased nearly 30%. And the average American home is paying $5,000 per year more on utilities than under Trump. Team Trump says this all goes back to too much regulation. Green initiatives under Biden-Harris will add $31,000 to the cost of a new home. Or to retrofit your existing home to align with their standards, it would cost you $9,000. During Trump's time in the White House, the U.S. became energy independent for the first time in 62 years, meaning that U.S. energy production was higher than U.S. energy consumption. America also exported more crude oil than it imported. Trump places a lot of emphasis on fracking and natural gas, which now accounts for 43% of all electricity generated in the U.S. and therefore has a huge impact on how much your energy bill is each month. Many on the left believe fracking is too harmful to the environment due to the release of greenhouse gases during the process. During her 2019 campaign, Kamala said she'd ban it altogether.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
When that 2019 clip resurfaced, Kamala said that she already pledged she would not ban it back in 2020 during a debate with Mike Pence.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020.
But at that time in 2020, she had only said Joe Biden wouldn't ban it, not herself.
The American people know that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
The first time Kamala said that she would not ban fracking as president was this year, 2024, and she continues to make that claim.
I am not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president.
The first day Biden and Kamala took the White House back in 2021, they canceled permits for the Keystone XL pipeline, blocking the project from going further. The Keystone XL was phase 4 in the Keystone pipeline plans, which delivers Canadian crude oil to U.S. markets. Proponents for fracking argue that new technology, which continues to better each year, makes the risk of fracking to humans or the environment minimal. And carbon emissions dropped in 2017 while Trump was pushing for more fracking to take place. But while Kamala and Biden have been in office, leases for natural gas and oil exploration have decreased, with only 91,000 new acres being leased under Biden versus 2.2 million acres under Trump. So at the end of the day, which candidate will ultimately help your paycheck spread further? Only time will tell, especially since anything like a pandemic can affect the economy just like that. But thankfully, because both candidates have already been in the White House, we have a good idea where their priorities lie moving forward. Donald Trump favored cutting taxes for individuals, corporations, and small businesses, removing government regulations, and exploring more opportunities for natural gas. Kamala and Biden favored using government regulations to enact rules they deemed to be safer for the environment and slowing natural gas exploration. Team Trump has promised to make interest on car loans tax-deductible and double taxation on Americans living abroad, and has proposed eliminating income tax on overtime pay. Kamala has vowed to increase taxes on corporations and the top-earning Americans and provide tax credits for first-time homebuyers or for developers who are building affordable housing. But just remember, whichever candidate you're leaning toward, nothing is ever free.
I think that the word free is one of the most misused words. We speak of free education. Education isn't free, it costs money. You spoke of free lectures, but those lectures weren't free. The lectures halls had to be provided. The facilities had to be provided. I am sure you have paid fees to some of the speakers. What you mean to say is that the people who attended the lecture were subsidized by the people who did not attend the lecture. And I do not believe that that is in my concept of what a free society should be.
Those are the facts. Now is time for you to decide.